Hi, my name is Judy and I'm the City Stitcher and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Sunday, May the 1st and it is a reasonably nice day where I am. There has been no snow this week, so that's great. We really are starting to head into spring, which means warmer weather, which we all know I love. It was interesting when I was having lunch, the sun was out, it was really sunshine, it's going to be a great day for filming. Then as I was bringing everything into this room, it clouded over and I went, okay, maybe the light's not going to be so good. And it seems to have, lightened up again. So in case the lighting changes periodically over the course of this video, welcome to weather where I live. We have a good joke that says, if you don't like the weather right now, wait a few minutes and see what it's like, which it truly can be like that more often than we'd probably like. But anyway, so the weather here is pretty nice, and I'm happy about that, which means we're definitely into spending more time in the sunroom, and I'm really looking forward to that. I need the overnight temperatures to sort of stabilize a little higher than where they are, because then it means I can start stitching here in the evenings, and I love that. Anyway, if you are new to my channel, this is a channel about cross stitching, not really about weather. It's about cross stitching. And so if you're new, thank you for stopping by and spending some time with me, and I hope that you enjoy what you see. And as always, thank you so much to all of you who return and keep up with my stitching journey. I do appreciate it. We've got lots to talk about this week, both the topic and other items. The other items we're going to start off with now. So the other items, a lot of them have to do with some of the comments that came in from last week. So apologies to those of you who were right on the button and watched the video very soon after it got up, because I forgot to put the links to the Flosstubers in. So that came later. So if you go back to last week's video, if you are looking to find Carolyn from C Zook Stitch or Rachel Q from Rachel Q Stitches, on last week's video, I have put a link in the notes section directly to their channels. So all you have to do is click on it and it will take you directly to sort of their channel page, and you can, start watching them. There's a lot of notes on here. I really do have to mark things off as I go through them. Okay. Carol had a really great suggestion. She is also in the camp of, I'm okay with hearts, just not too many of them. So she had some really good suggestions about the Brenda Gervais wordplay for February, which from her perspective was pretty Valentine-y related. And so she actually went in and changed the words. She had to, graph them out for herself and change them because February is Black History Month. So she's President's Day, I think, for you people in the US. Anyway, so she went through and she changed a bunch of them. And you all know that I'm a big fan of, if you don't like how it looks, change it to what you want. So that was really great. And I loved sort of some of her suggestions about making it not quite so Valentine-y Day, because I of course do have all of the word plays in my stash. I stitched exactly none of them yet. Anyway, so thanks for that suggestion, Carol. I certainly have made a note of that for when I get to work on it. Girly made a comment that she was kind of chuckling about all of my rules that I have. And sure, I have rules for my stitching. And as we all know, rules are meant to be broken. So my rules are totally in effect until I decide that I don't want to follow that rule on any given piece at any point in time to whatever I want it to be. So they're my rules. Which I think is pretty funny. She also made a comment that watching me struggle through some of the specialty stitches, she's decided she probably can't do the specialty stitches, and the answer is no. No, 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 no. That's the wrong lesson to take from this. And because as much as I fought with, let's pick on the Eastern stitch, as much as I fought with the Eastern stitch, at the end of the day, I got the stitch accomplished in a way that I was happy with. I don't think it's going to be a specialty stitch that I love and I try to incorporate into other pieces. I certainly, if somebody said to me, it's like, oh, have you ever stitched an Easter stitch? I'll go, have I stitched an Eastern stitch? And I'll have a story to tell. But I got them done. So please, and I think that's also part of the journey. And certainly as I go through sampler stitches, wait till you see what I talk about this week on that one. It's okay to struggle with them. It's okay to not enjoy all of them. It's a learning lesson for me, right? I can say I've done the Eastern stitch. I'm probably not going to incorporate it again. But if it showed up in another chart, I'd probably roll my eyes and go, oh, here we go again. And I would make the decision whether I was going to follow the chart or do something else. But I now have that experience. And yes, having stitched it 3 times with 3 different fibers, well, 3 different fibers, 2 different ways of stitching it, you know, that's how I learned. That's how I got to the end result. And I liken it to like when you were learning how to print in school. Your teacher showed you how to print. You started off with your very first letter. Was it perfect on the first attempt? No. It took you a little bit to learn that. And specialty stitches are a little bit of a skill. Some of them are super easy. A lot of the specialty stitches and the sampler stitches I have not fought with. If I'm going to fight with a stitch, it usually means I'm going to fight with a stitch. But at the end of the day, according to me, one way or another, I'm going to win. I don't know how I'm going to win, but I'm going to win. Sometimes it'll be because I decide not to do that stitch. Sometimes because I finally beat it into submission and I figure out the way that it works for me. So please don't let me fighting with my specialty stitches discourage you. Specialty stitches aren't always easy. That's just, again, that's just how it goes. Again, a lot of them have been no problem. There's a lot of specialty stitches in there that I've had no problem stitching, even though they were new to me. There are some I'm going to fight with. I'm expecting over the course of the rest of this year that I'm going to fight with probably a few more. Hopefully only a few more, not a lot. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. And if you come back faithfully, you'll see my journey as to how many I'm fighting with. And Rachel Q left a comment on last week's going as she was watching my video from last week. She kind of chuckled because she was literally working on the letter T of her Erica Michaels Specialty Stitches series when I was talking about her saying she was tired of specialty stitches. Anyway, so that one, okay, I'm just crossing things off as I go through things. Okay, also on the specialty stitches, sampler stitches, I did get a question about whether or not it would be a good piece to work on 16 count, and I'm assuming it's like a 16 count Ada. I'm doing mine on a 32 count Lugana. I think the person asking was because they were wondering if they could do it on a 16 count Ada. And I did respond to the comment, but I'm going to also say here, sampler stitches is not a good series of charts to be worked on Ada if you're doing it over 1. You really, when you do it over 2, you need all of those holes to make a lot of the specialty stitches work, and we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into what I've done on sampler stitches this week. So for sampler stitches, I really am saying you need to be working at where your regular cross stitch is being done over 2 threads. Technically, you could do it on 16 count, but you would need to do it over 2 squares, which would mean that you're effectively doing it on 8 count. So it would be a lot bigger. So it depends. If you want to do it as an exercise because you want to work on specialty stitches and 16 count is the thing that works for you, you're always welcome to try it. It just means that your piece will be a lot bigger than what mine is. So take that how you will. Okay. I got a question on, actually I'm not going to do that one yet. Okay. Again, so thank you for those of you who reached out. I got messages on Instagram. I got comments in the comment section down below with some suggestions for gray fabrics and where to look for some potential gray fabrics to do my Bent Creek Santa's Holly blah, blah, blah kit. So as I said last week, I did go into the stash that I inherited. So I actually do have some gray Ada in the house. Haven't made any final decisions. You know, it's going to take me a while. But I'm going to leave these in the bag. So here is my gray Ada. They're double bagged. I don't even know if it's going to help if I take it out. You know I'm going to lose something here. So there's my gray Ada that I have in stash. This is a piece that, regardless of what count it is, this is going to be big enough to do it on. So I have to see what it is. I haven't made any final decisions, but at least I have found a piece of gray Ada in my home that potentially could work. And Denise left a comment that she was surprised that I was trying to do it on gray because I sometimes struggle with gray fabric, and that's true. I always think back to, I was watching a video from the Buckeye Stitcher, and she was sort of going through her fabric stash and how many gray pieces of fabric she had, because gray is a hard color to get right, because you've got a green gray, a blue gray, a brown gray, a pinky gray. Like, gray can take any number of forms, and she has this collection of fabrics as she was questing for what she, you know, that she would think was the perfect gray for how she was stitching. Now, she doesn't like a blue toned gray, so that's where she and I disagree. So some of her ones that she was like, ugh, it's more blue than I like, I was like, ooh, that's a good gray. Anyway, yeah, so gray can be hard, but I don't think light blue is actually quite right for this piece. So gray is my quest. Haven't made any final decisions. Check back later at some unknown point in time in the future about when I actually make a decision on that and start to stitch it. But at least I have an option in the house. The other thing for Denise is she made this comment that she tends to work on full coverage pieces, which is great. She tends to get through 1 to 2 pages a week on her full coverage pieces. Denise, that's amazing. I think you need to be giving me tips. Sorry. Anyway, so good for her, because when we get to Jerusalem, we'll talk about that again. 1 to 2 a week, man, that's amazing. All right. And then Anna asked the question about some specific fibers. So she asked if I had any tips about working with fuzzy thread. So the examples are Fuzzy Stuff by Rainbow Gallery that I've got, and Whisper, also by Rainbow Gallery. And they are fuzzy. So these are used for things, you know, in my example, Santa's beard, fur trim on an elegant lady, certainly by Mirabilia, you know, fur trim on an elf, sheep, you know, those are kind of where it gets called for in charts. So I haven't used it extensively. I have used it a little bit, so I only have a few tips for you. But if any of you out there have some tips as well on how to use these type of products, please put them in the comments down below, because we would all like to learn, or at least according to me, we would all like to learn. So one of my tips is, for me, I always use a size 24 needle when I'm working with these threads, regardless of the fabric that I'm stitching on. Now, part of it has to do with the fact that I'm generally only working on 28 or 32 count when I'm working with these particular fibers. You know, so if you're working on something, like if you're doing something crazy on 20, think about that. But for me, I always go to a size 24 just because I want, again, I'm using a size 24 to sort of just prepare that hole in the fabric, that as I'm going down, that it's kind of wider than it would normally would be to let this fabric and all of its fuzzy stuff come through. Stitch as you normally would. If you're struggling with it, just make sure you slow down. The answer is slow down, get that first leg in there. Don't worry about the fuzziness off the get-go. Get the stitches in the way you're looking, and don't think about whether it's fuzzy or not. That's not step one. Step one is just get the stitches in. Step two, now that the stitches are in, there are a couple of things. Where do I put this? Keep it separate. Okay, we're putting it over there. One, generally all I've needed to do is very lightly run my needle a little bit over top of it just to sort of fluff it up. And not very much. Certainly the project that I'm thinking of, you know, I did all of the, so it's a cross stitching piece where there was a lot of beading as well. So I did all of the stitching, including putting the fuzzy stuff in. Then I did my beading, and even sort of that time delay and having moved the fabric around, the fabric never, you know, it never was under something that would press it down. So like it wasn't caught under a Q-snap because I was using a scroll rod for that particular piece. But, you know, just doing the beading around it was enough to sort of plump it up, and then just again by lightly running my needle over top of it, it fluffed up to a level that I was happy with. When on the first project that I was kitting up that called for Whisper, I was having a chat with one of the staff at the store, because I was going like, okay, so I found the stuff, I don't know what to do with this. So I did also buy this tool, because there's nothing like if there's a gadget, let's get the gadget while we're there. So this is called a nap riser brush. Glare on there. This one I can get out of the bag, I'm pretty sure. There. Nap riser brush is what I bought at the advice of the lady in the store. So I don't, this was a long time ago. So I don't know if it's still available, but I have it. I will do a quick little check to see if I can't find one. And if I find one, I will put a link to it in the notes section down below. And so it looks like this. So it's got these wire pick things. So I feel like if you have any experience with felting, which I do not, I always feel like there's tools to do felting. So it's just got these little wire brushes, and you can use them just to sort of plump it up that way as well. Again, for what I knew I had this tool in my stash, but when I was working on my project that called for the Whisper, again, just lightly running it over, got it to a level that I was happy with. I think if you're, again, like some of them, if you're thinking it's going to look uber fuzzy, I think fuzzy stuff will make it look fuzzier than Whisper. But just careful on what your expectations. It will be fuzzier, but you may not sort of look at it and go like, oh my goodness. Like I'm kind of thinking like if you used it to do a rabbit's tail in a design, if you think it's going to give you that almost pom-pom-like effect, it's not. It will just be fuzzier than the rest of your stitching. So depends on what type of, crinkle, I'm putting things back together. Depends on what your end objective is for what you want it to look like on your project. Yes, I'm putting things back in because otherwise we all know I'm going to lose them. Okay, so I hope that helps. And again, if any of you have more experience than me and you have great tips for, or tips that you found helpful when you were working with fuzzy stuff or Whisper or other fuzzy threads, please put them down in the comments down below. As always, you could always check the comments to see if somebody's got tips on there before we come back next week. I certainly know that on some of the videos that I actually start to go through the comments because they've raised a question. I'm like, ooh, I wonder if anybody put anything interesting in there so I can know it before we get to the following week. Anyway, So there's that. I also got a comment. Somebody said, like, what's happened to Temperature Tree? You haven't worked on that in a really long time. And it's true. I haven't. It is not forgotten. It is coming out again later this year. But I didn't have it finished before we hit Lent. And of course, as soon as we hit the beginning of Lent on Ash Wednesday, Temperature Tree kind of went away because I had a focus piece and other things that I was working into the schedule. It isn't forgotten. I'm still planning on working on it. I'm still planning on trying to get it finished. It just hasn't come out for a bit, and that's okay. It's not forgotten. Don't worry about that. And yes, I do like stitching on it, but it's not coming out for a bit. Okay. And then the last comment that I want to talk about relates to Markup Rxp. So there has been some news coming out from the developers of Markup Rxp that they are going to be, so when I bought Markup Rxp, you paid once and you were set. You just had to pay the one-time fee. And I want to say, like, for me, it was maybe $11 or $12 Canadian. So not a huge investment. I was totally willing to pay it. But they've published a comment. Now, this is a comment that was posted on Reddit. I've heard other people reference it this week, so I feel like I want to say this to you as well. If it has any appeal for you, and I would, if you mark up your charts at all, so there are people out there who go, I never mark up my chart. I don't understand why you people mark up your charts. It makes no sense to me, and I don't do it myself. Then this is not necessarily the comment for you. If you highlight, mark up, do certain things to keep track of where you are on your page, I have really enjoyed working with Markup Rxp. As I said last week when I was talking about getting ready for 2023, one of the tasks that I will be working on, actually both for 2023 and for the rest of this year, is scanning in all of my charts so that I have them in an electronic form. Because I have loved using Markup Rxp. And again, in a lot of the discussions that I've seen, and as I've been working on research, I have not come to my final conclusion on certain things. So I haven't done my review of the differences between Markup Rxp and the difference between Pattern Keeper. And there are differences. But for me, one of the critical differences about Markup Rxp is my ability to get non-electronic patterns. So patterns that I bought over the decades. As we all know, I've got 20-year-old patterns sitting in my stash. So when I scan those in, I can get them into Markup Rxp way easier, and in some cases I can get them into Markup Rxp, whereas I cannot get them into Pattern Keeper. That's one of the problems. But I can get it into Markup Rxp, and Markup Rxp on those patterns gives me more functionality than what I can get in Pattern Keeper. So in Markup Rxp, I can scan in an old chart that I only had in paper form, get it into Markup Rxp, I can still search for the symbols. Whereas if I put it into Pattern Keeper, if I can get it into Pattern Keeper, all I can do is mark off and I can't search. So for me, who has a lot of older charts that are all paper and would all need to be scanned and be brought into the program, Markup Rxp for me is the only one that will really truly work for me, because I want that ability to search for those symbols. They've put this comment out that they are planning on changing their model where it will go from being sort of a pay once and you have it for your lifetime to an annual fee for using the program. So if you have any interest in Markup Rxp, I would strongly encourage you, if you mark up stuff, get it now. Get it now where you can pay once and have it for a lifetime, for the rest of your life. And they have said in the comment, certainly the comment that I saw posted on Reddit, it says, you know, anybody who currently has it will be grandfathered in grandfathered into their program as having lifetime access. So I don't know if, if it's always going to be just an annual fee, or if there'll be two, you can, only pay the annual, or if there's a different price for lifetime. They haven't released any of that. They have said they will be changing to that model with their next update. Now, they haven't said when their next update is coming. But my answer is, I am so glad I have Markup Rxp. So glad I have Markup Rxp for these older charts that I can scan in and do all the functionality. And even this week alone, I was looking at, so if they have a channel, and I will link to their channel again, where they've got a whole bunch of videos on how to use their program. And I will say, when I started it, I kind of got stuff in and just started going. And I'm learning stuff as I'm going along. Because I went back into, I watched one of their YouTube videos this week and went, ooh. So you know how I've said that I've been struggling with some of the symbols, and the program is struggling with symbol identification? Well, if I'd actually watched more of the YouTube videos, they actually have a video that shows you how to load it in so that you have better, if you've loaded something in and the definition of the symbols is not great, they have a video to show you how you can get it in with better definition. So one of the things that I did this week is I actually reloaded Jerusalem into Markup Rxp using the new trick that I have, and the symbols are awesome. Anyway. So, I now have to sort of remark up Jerusalem, and it's a little bit of a task. So, not doing it imminently. I'm kind of having that debate going: is it worthwhile to transfer the stuff on page 4? And I'm thinking it might actually be worthwhile. So anyway, stay tuned to see what I do with that. Again, one of the things that I have in my head is that hopefully I am going to be doing some traveling this year. So it does mean that I will be getting on planes, and I'm having this moment going like, ooh, maybe one of the things that I could be doing on the plane is transferring some of that markup while I'm listening to a movie. That's my big plan. Still stitching related, but anyway, no needles or scissors required, but I could do it on the plane. So I'm contemplating that, because the symbol definition in the second way is awesome, and I'm so glad I went back and watched that video, because I've learned a lot. I've learned things this week about Markup Rxp. So I'm very excited about Markup Rxp. And again, I was watching, so the Sunshine Stitchers were talking about Markup Rxp in this week's video as well, the one that came out yesterday on Saturday, which is also why I'm bringing it up. Because anyway, Gary's like, I still don't get it, and I don't understand why people are doing things, and etc. Even though he marks off he likes a paper copy. And if you like a paper copy, that's great. For me, Markup Rxp is a game changer. It is a game changer. So for example, like on the Cottage of the Month, that's not necessarily a difficult chart, and I don't necessarily know that, well, I'm saying this going, I don't know that I would scan those in, but my answer is no, I think I would scan them in, because it just makes it easier to mark off, because then I don't have to take anything out. I can just sort of, drag my finger along and we're off to the races. But yeah, so for me, who has always traditionally had a paper copy and has highlighted and done all the things, and I've got some full coverage pieces and searching for symbols. Jerusalem, oh my goodness, like Jerusalem is the one where like I just went, this is a game changer. This has changed entirely the way that I do my stitching. So if you have any interest at all I can say is I would encourage you to buy the program now. It's not that expensive. Like I say, when I bought it, it was like either $11 or $12 Canadian. I don't, again, because I'm located in Canada, when apps show up in my programs, they show up in Canadian dollars. In the US, I don't know what the equivalent price is, or if in Europe or elsewhere in the world. I don't know what your pricing is going to be, but all you have to do is go into the app and you'll be able to see what your pricing is. I think it is a bargain. And if you get lifetime access and they're changing their model to an annual fee, get it now. That's all I can do is say, get it now. Again, I'm thrilled that I've got it. Game changer for me. They're changing their model, just to highlight that for you. Okay, that's all of my comments on there. So that piece of paper can go away. Let's get into some stitching, because that's more what you're here for. All right, so what did I work on this week? Well, I have a finish. Da, da, da. So this is Deb's Winter Biscornu from the Winter 2021 Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine. I'm stitching it using the DMC that was in the pattern. So this is side A. I had this completed before, and this is side B. So I got all of side B stitched this week. Actually, I had that moment. I was looking at the picture going, you maybe need to make sure you got all those Smyrnas in there, and I did. I can see them. So I am doing this on a 32 count white opalescent linen. So side A has the dark snowflakes with the light blue, and then of course side B is just the reverse, where it has the light blue snowflakes with the dark blue. So it's stitched up quite quickly. I think I had this finished by Wednesday. So it moved along quite quickly. That was great. Was very happy with this. Again, don't come back next week expecting that this thing is going to be turned into a fully finished anything. Let's not get carried away. I have a finish, and I'm happy with my finish. I really like how this is turning out. The Spring 2022 Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine came out, and they have a Spring Biscornu in there, which is from the same designer, and it is lovely, 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 lovely. And I'm just like, oh, she's going to finish this year. She's going to have a Biscornu for summer and a Biscornu for fall. They're all going to occur while my current subscription is valid, which is going to be awesome. You know, at least I'll have the charts. So anyway, it's finished. And as I said, don't come back next week expecting this to be turned into a fully finished object. Although I do want to turn this into a fully finished object sooner than later. And I have warned the ladies at the Stitching Corner in Cochrane, which is one of my LNSs, because that shop is open to the public. We were talking about this, and they said, you can finish it into a Biscornu, no problem. You can finish it into a Biscornu, no problem. And I said, yes, and that's what everybody tells me. But if I run into any problems, I'm coming here, and you people are going to have to supervise me getting it turned into a Biscornu. Anyway, very happy with how this is coming out. Love, love, love it. So that is my finish for the week. So I also spent some time on sampler stitches. So this is sampler stitches by the Drawn Thread. It is a series of 9 charts. I am doing this as a stitch along with Sarah Hughes, the Stitchin' Mummy. And the goal is to get 1 letter accomplished every 2 weeks, which means effectively by the end of the year, hopefully the entire series will be finished and you'll have the whole thing done. So I was working on trying to finish up GH and I. So this is what GH and I looks like according to the chart. So where did I get to? Well, I didn't get it all done. Look at this draggly thread. You know what that's going to mean. All right. So what did I get finished? So I got my insects down here finished. back stitching with a single cross stitch, sort of where the head is. I replaced the hand. Good grief. So again, this is where I follow the chart not very well. So there is this hand here, and I decided to replace it with a house. So there is my house. I used the taupe color for the roof, the door, and the windows, which is the same taupe that's used over here in the basket. It's used in this little bit over here. And I made the house a light green. I know, some of you may be going like, that's so weird. Blue is your favorite color. Why did you choose blue? And I went, because there's a lot of blue in this area. And so I went, if I added another blue, it was going to be too much. I did think about it and went, it's the wrong choice. I also thought about making the house gray, but then I was like, at this point, this would be the only place where that gray would occur, because I've mostly kept it in the same. Okay, I've only added one other incremental color into the palette. So I went with the light green for the house. You can tell me whether you agree, disagree, have thoughts. Put them in the comments down below. I am still debating, as even last night I was looking at this going like, it's me. I think it's going to bug me that I didn't reverse these originally. So I don't think I'm going to do it this week. I think I'm going to let it sit for another week, because tonight is, so I work on sampler stitches on Sunday nights. Every Sunday night I work on it. I keep hoping I'm going to get a little bit ahead, because I know that there are some Sundays coming up where I'm not going to be able to stitch on it. But anyway, I'm not ahead. I'm a little bit behind. Only by one specialty stitch. We're going to talk about it. So I'm debating taking these out and flipping them like I talked about last week. I know I said last week I had them in and I wasn't going to go back and do it, but I've been looking at it this week going, I think I want to swap them. So I may be taking these out and restitching them just to swap the location, because I think I'm going to like it better. I'm probably not going to do it this week. I was having Sarah, the Stitch and Mommy, and I were sending a few messages back and forth about this. So believe it or not, I'm waiting to see her video this week to see if she swapped them, and see when I look at hers if I go, yeah, that's the right decision. I think it's the right decision. So I think, anyway, but I won't do it this week. I'm going to wait another week and maybe come back and redo them. And then, of course, we have this nasty specialty stitch up here called God's Eye, which is driving me to distraction. I am really struggling with it. So again, it's another one where I'm really struggling with how it's coming out. So again, I spent a little bit of time this week on the internet looking at other stitch diagrams for this, how they were doing it. I have a concept in my head of how I'm going to do it to make it work better for me, so it will turn out the way that I like. Check back later. I'm going to take one more go at it, and if I don't like it, then I'm going to change it into, again, because I don't remember the names of the specialty stitches. It's that one where it's like a spider web thing and you wave over and under and over and under, but there's more spokes to it. So that's my other one. If my new way doesn't work for this one, this next go around, I'm just going to do a straight up spider web type thing, because I've done those before and those are fine, and it will give me the effect that I'm wanting. And then we'll move on, even though it doesn't start with the letter G. Doesn't matter. G is for grapes, not for the God's Eye stitch. Anyway, so fighting with it yet again. This one, what I've got in here is like this needs to come out. Again, I worked on it and I was annoyed with it, and I put it away, and I'm still annoyed with it. I can't actually anyway, it's going to have to get ripped out. That's all there is to it, and I'm totally fine with that, because clearly it's the thread's fault that it's not working correctly. It can't be user error, right? Anyway, So that's coming out. I'm going to take one more crack at it, and then we're just going to move on. I'm not going to do it today either because I'm still annoyed at it. Even now I'm looking at it going, I'm annoyed at it. So today's stitching is I am moving down to the letter J. And I was having a quick look because I've now had D, E, F. I had a stitch that I've fought with. G, H, I, I've had a stitch that I've fought with. So I was kind of looking at J going like, are you going to have a fight? And I think I'm not going to have a fight in J. I say that now, but I think J is totally fine. So hopefully I can just get J knocked out of the park and it'll be fine. I didn't bother looking at the other ones because let's take success where it comes because it'll make me feel better as opposed to going, oh my goodness, another specialty stitch that I'm fighting with. Anyway. So next week you will see part of J. How far we get is anybody's guess on how much stitching I get done tonight. Once I've sat and babysat watching things upload. But that's my plan for sampler of stitches. Okay. Yes. Next is Jerusalem by Thea Gouverneur. Oh, okay, probably mispronouncing it, but we all know what we're talking about. This is my Lent stitching piece that has stayed out past Lent because I wanted it to. And I'm happy with my progress this week again because I got the Biscornu stitched up reasonably quickly. So where did I get to? Okay, one of the other things that I have learned is I probably need to stitch this in the summer until I finish this part. I was chatting with a friend of mine. I said, because I need to change my stitching location. Because I need to be stitching somewhere where because this is like a very long scroll rod and I'm really, as I finish page 4 and as I work towards page 5, I'm working on this section where all of this is hanging out. So I need to stitch in a spot where I can have all of this hanging out and not, bumping into the end table or, other things, which is turning into a problem in my, winter stitching spot. So my summer stitching spot is actually this one, which means I would still have the same problem because, welcome to, if I'm working on this, like the scroll bars are like all the way past this end table. So it's gonna think. So I was talking to a friend of mine and she said, so you mean you really want to stitch in the sunroom and stitch in my chair? Because the chair over here, I laughed when she said it because in my head I was going like, I'm going to have to use your chair instead of my chair. Because when she comes over to stitch in the summer, we do try to stitch in this room because it's a really lovely room and sunshiny and bright and all the good things and all that good stuff. But I thought it was funny that she thinks of that as her chair as well. She may have to give up her spot because if I'm working on Jerusalem, I'm going to need that spot. But anyway, so I'm very happy with my progress on this. I think Girly also made a comment, don't burn yourself out on the metallics, but the answer is I am thrilled that I got all the metallics done in the top here. And it was driving me nuts that I did not know what the correct term for these are. So again, I did some internet searching because that's a part of stitching, just in case you were wondering. I went and I did my internet searching. These are called onion domes is the technical term for them. So I was like, I got in there and I was like going, oh, thank heavens they explain what they are because I'm tired of calling them by what I know is the wrong name. So they are onion domes. And the other trivia piece that I picked up is that Prince Philip's, the Duke of Edinburgh, his mother, Princess Alice of Battenberg, is actually interred at the Church of Mary Magdalene in Israel. So it was some interesting reading. So what I've been working on, because I got those down, so I was working on a good chunk. So almost all of this section here is complete. There's maybe 10 or 15 stitches of, you know, weird random colors that aren't in there, but it's pretty much done, which meant, so that's where I was spending a lot of my stitching time. I also put in this little bit here. So we're starting to, right, right, so right there, so that's where I am. Why? Because I needed this, the color, one of the colors that's in here is used a total of like for, I don't know, 3 to 5 stitches somewhere in here. And I went, well, we're close enough now I can count over and I can get started on this. Get it done while I was there. So that part got started, and then I, just towards the tail end of the week, I was then in the spot saying, it's time to start working on the green. So there's green that goes in here. There's green that's filling up, that's going to go in here. I started up here and sort of did a length of thread and then picked another color and did another length of thread. So I haven't quite gotten down into here, but there's green over here and green over here. But I'm very happy that most of this upper part of the Church of Mary Magdalene is complete, almost complete. It's close to being complete. So I was very happy with my progress on that this week. A friend of mine also said, because I said like I was very happy with how it was going, she's like, are you doing the back stitching? I said, I am doing the back stitching on the pages, but only once all of the cross stitching for page 4 is complete, that's when I will do the back stitching for that page. I'm not trying to get the back stitching done as I'm doing it, because again, there are some, this is not completely solidly filled in, so I just back stitching at the end, but I will finish this page and all of the back stitching on this page before I start to work on page 5. And I laugh because there are quite a few of you that are going, oh, we love Jerusalem. We're so glad you kept Jerusalem out. We love seeing how it's progressing. And I love seeing how it's progressing as well. But it's going away for a while. Not forever. It's coming out again later this year. And there is a specific spot in the schedule where it's coming out. So don't give up hope. You will see it again. And I am working on sort of plans on rotations about how to keep it coming out a little bit more regularly than how it is currently in the plan, because I want to make that progress. And it's, again, now that I've got Markup R-XP, it's coming along so much easier for me. It's great. So I just want to see that progress keep going. But it's going away for a while for a variety of reasons, and we'll talk about that over time. As the months go by and you don't see it. It's not coming up for at least a couple of months. So just for those of you who love seeing Jerusalem, brace yourself. It's not coming out for a couple of months, but it is coming out again later this year. Don't give up hope. It's coming back. And I was also looking at, so I've had to scroll up. So you've lost some of the top of the cross here. This just squeaked in. But anyway, I was looking back at a picture of where I started this piece at the beginning of Lent. And so I probably had about 2/3 of the lower half of this section right here was complete. There was a lot of stuff in these arches that was not complete. And, you know, had some of the yellow, like I maybe had about 40% of this stitched up when I started this. So again, so thrilled that page 3 is finished entirely. Thrilled that I got the dome of the rocks and all those crazy metallics done. Yeah, so I'm really happy with my progress on this piece this year. I love how it's coming out. To the point where I was actually looking at some Thea Gouverneur kits online, and I was going like, ooh, I wonder if I should buy another one. And I went, are you out of your mind? I'm still debating one, but I kind of went, you haven't finished this one. Are you sure you want to do another one? And my answer is, I don't know, but I have one that I'm looking at. No purchases have been made on that front, but there's one that I'm looking at. Now, why? Because now that I have Markup R-XP and now that I figured out how to get my chart in there even better, anyway, but we all know, how many years is it going to take me to finish? Anyway, moving along. So that is my stitching for this week. Stashquisitions. So I don't have anything to show for Stashquisitions, but I did purchase things. So it's a long story, isn't it always? A number of years ago, there was a specific pattern I was looking for, and it was only available in a back issue of a magazine that was fairly old, and I was having great difficulty finding it. And the only place I could find it was in an electronic version on a website called Pocket Mags. And really what Pocket Mags does is it gives you this ridiculously large number of magazines that you can subscribe to so that you get them all electronically. Like you can subscribe to magazines that you get, like Punch Needle Primitive Stitcher magazine, which I have a subscription to right now. I'm getting them electronically directly from Punch Needle Primitive Stitcher magazine. I don't even know if it's an option on there for them, but they do have this. When you go in there, it may shock you at just how many magazines are being published. Anyway, I went on there years ago, got this one back issue of this magazine for this one pattern that I really, really wanted, just so I could have it. I haven't stitched on it yet. It is in the 5-year plan. I haven't stitched it yet, but I got it because it was the only place I could find the chart legally. There were a few places where I looked at them and went, I can get it, but it's illegal. This is copyright infringement, and I wasn't wanting to do that. So I chose to find the spot where I could get it legally. So because I have this one back issue from Pocket Mags, I'm on their list, and I could unsubscribe, but it's easy enough to get the emails and just ignore what they're doing. But they sent out an email this week that said, we're having a flash sale on back issues and things are 50% off. But it's not all back issues. It's select back issues and whatever. And I had a moment where I was like going, ooh, there's an old back issue of Just Cross Stitch magazine that has a chart on it that I really, really like. And I had tried to get my LNS to order it in for me, but the issue is sold out, so you can't get it in paper form. I don't even know enough about the Just Cross Stitch subscriptions to see if you can get them electronically, because generally I don't tend to buy a lot of them. Anyway, but I went, I wonder if Just Cross Stitch is an option on Pocket Mags, and if they have my back issue that I can't get in paper form, and if it's on sale. And it was. I don't remember. It's a back issue from, I want to say it's like the January, February 2014. And again, the pattern has stuck with me this long where I still go, it's the cushion on the front cover and I can't get it. And they had it. So it was on Pocket Mags. It was 50% on sale. I got the electronic copy of the magazine for $4 Canadian. That's a bargain. So it's $4 for that one chart. I get all of the other charts in the magazine, and I think there were actually a couple of other ones in that magazine that I went, ooh, those are interesting maybe. But I have it now for the grand total of $4. But while I was on there and I went, ooh, $4 for a back issue of a magazine. $4 is a really good price for a chart. So I went and I checked a couple of other things. They also have World of Cross Stitching magazine, which is a British publication. I can get them here from the Chapters bookstore. If you buy the paper copies here, I want to say that they run about $16 Canadian per issue. So I went in and I searched for it. And World of Cross Stitching is on Pocket Mags as well. and the back issues for that were on sale as well. They were $4 an issue. So I ended up buying so I was really trolling for cross-stitching magazines. I ended up buying 5 back issues. So I spent my $20 Canadian. I got my 5 back issues, and then I promptly spent a ridiculous amount of time that evening. I think it was Friday night. I think I spent most of Friday night, got very little stitching done. I spent most of Friday night going through my new magazines and downloading the charts that I wanted out of them. It was, anyway. So those are my Stashquisitions. As of this morning, May the 1st, the 50% on Pocket Mags is on sale. So I will put a link to the Pocket Mags site down below. You can pay with your credit card. You can pay through PayPal. So those are your payment options. You can look at Pocket Mags on a desktop computer. There is also a Pocket Mags app. I have not downloaded the app. Technically the issue resides in Pocket Mags and you have access to it forever because you've bought it. What I did is I downloaded the charts out of it into my computer so that I have it on the computer. If my computer blows up, I can always go back into Pocket Mags and re-download them again. But again, I haven't tried an app. They do have an app. Anyway, I just went $4. It started off with $4, and I can get that chart from an out-of-print back issue of a magazine that even, like, I swear it's 2014, maybe 2015. So that's what, 7-8 years I've been thinking about this chart, going, man, I wish I'd picked up that magazine when I saw it. And I didn't. Anyway, so I have it now for $4 Canadian, which is a bargain. So I will put a link to the Pocket Mags. There's no guarantee. I don't know how long the sale is running. As of this morning, it was still ongoing. But if you are watching it tomorrow on Monday and it's gone, I'm sorry. You can sign up to get their email notifications because, like I say, they said flash sale 50% off. I went, ooh, maybe I should check. You know, again, they send the emails regularly and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff, and I never do anything with them. You can get subscriptions. You can also go in there, and if you're looking for anything else, have a good gander. Anyway, so those are my Stashquisitions this week. I spent the $20. I got my 5 back issues of assorted cross-stitching magazines and downloaded the charts, and I'm very excited about that. All right. Man, we're at an hour. We haven't even got to the topic. So here comes the topic. It's Mania. It's the 1st of May. Mania is starting very quickly. If you're someone who is unfamiliar with Mania, it started back in 2015 with a Facebook group that is no longer, it's been closed. And they wanted to do something that was crazy. And they started off by saying, you know, it's 2015, let's have 15 new starts in the first 15 days of May. It then expanded over time to people were starting 1 new chart every day of the month of May, so up to 31. And then, of course, it morphed again as people were going like, we like the concept of doing something interesting in May, but we're making it our own. So there's 400 ways of doing Mania. So really what Mania is, pick something that will get you excited and interested about getting some goals accomplished in May and do that. That's your Mania. So there are people who are still doing that. They're doing a crazy number of starts, and that's great. We all know that's not me. That does not sound like a fun month for me. That would be bad, bad, bad. So I'm not doing that. So there's the new starts, there's Whip Mania, there's Finish Mania, there's Mermaid Mania, there's Mirabilia Mania, there's Monogamania. There's the people who are sort of saying, we're doing 5 new starts because there's 5 weeks in May, and, you know, whatever. Do just come up with a plan for May that makes you really excited about your stitching and do that. That's your Mania, and you can call it whatever you want. You can call it my Mania and your salt. So I have my Mania plans. They're not new. They're pretty much my Mania plans from last year because I like it and I want to do it. And so that's what I'm doing. So I am doing a Mirabilia Mania. So I am working on my Mirabilia pieces / Nora Corbett because it's the same designer. I have 3 that are currently whips. So my goal up front, so I have 1 Mirabilia, which is the April's Blue Diamond, which is lovely, and I want to get some work done on that. So you'll be seeing that this month one way or another. I have 2 Nora Corbett pieces. I have Fairy Winter Dream, and I have one of the Christmas Eve Couriers, which has started, I don't remember which one. I want to say it's Comet, but I might have it wrong. One of them is started. So those are my 3 that I currently have as whips. So 2 Nora Corbetts, 1 Mirabilia. My goal is I want to get Fairy Winter Dream finished. I want to get the Christmas Eve Courier finished. I want to work on April's Blue Diamond. And once I have done those 3 things, now I don't have to finish April's Blue Diamond. I just have to get some work done on her. Then I will be allowed to start a new Mirabilia. And I have it picked out. I have all the floss picked out for it. I've not made a final determination on fabric, so that's going to get worked on. That's my, exciting part that I can go back into the stash. I have a concept of what I want to do. I just need to do a little bit of confirming where I really want to go. But once I get one of my Nora Corbett's finished, that's when I will allow myself to go in and find the fabric. That's my reward for finishing Fairy Winter Dream. I get to pick the fabric. Then I need to finish the Christmas Eve Courier. Anyway, so there's a whole structure to this month about how it's going. But I'm doing a Mira Mania. So focusing on Mirabilia Nora Corbett, which is why I don't, dear Sunshine Stitchers, the fact that you had your Mirabilia way earlier, anyway, should have been May. Anyway, I'm working on it now anyway. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I will also be continuing with my cottage series. So one of my starts tomorrow. I'm not going to start it today, although I technically would like to. Depends on how I do on Sampler of Stitches, but it's probably going to be tomorrow. I'm going to start my May cottage of the month from Country Cottage Needleworks, so I can stay up with that. So that one also has to get worked on and finished in the month of May. I know it doesn't fit into the thing, but it's one of my monthly goals. Get it stitched up, and we'll be continuing to work on Sampler of Stitches on Sundays. And I have my Platinum Jubilee commemorative piece that I'm also working on for one day. So there's going to be a lot going. Well, it'll be interesting to see how the month comes together. I've got, as I said, some very specific goals that I'm working on. This is how I'm planning on doing my May. I want to see some good progress. I want those 2 pieces finished. I want the 2 pieces finished. I want to work on April's Blue Diamond because I'm working on the flowers at the bottom. There's a long way to go on that one, so let's not get excited. That's why that one's not targeted for a finish. But I want to get some progress on there, and then I get to do a new start. And I really like the one that I have mostly kitted up, ready for my new start. So again, the new start is the reward for getting all of my goals accomplished. And I want that new start. I want it started. Anyway, okay, that's not so bad. It's only been about 7 minutes on the topic for this week, so that's not too bad. So those are my plans for Mania. I hope you're going to do something for Mania, whatever it is. Sampler Mania. Again, do whatever you want. Just come up with a plan that gets you excited about your stitching, because it'll make you want to stitch. So do that, because I'm excited about my stitching. Actually, usually my plans are always getting me excited about my stitching. My other update on the plans is coming off of last week's topic. It's been fun working on looking at some of those plans for 2023. The last half of some of the things for the last quarter of 2022 may be changing slightly. I'm looking at a couple of things going, ooh, I might change that up a little bit. I don't know, haven't decided. My 2023 plan, so I had a 2023 plan already going when I was looking at 23, because I came up with my 5-year, I came up with a 5-year stitching plan. I have 5 years mapped out of charts and things that I want. It's already changing. It's already changing. And I'm happy about that. It's, you know, again, new things have come out as I've been going through my stash for other reasons. Other things have come up where I'm like, ooh, maybe that trumps this. So the plans are in the works. I have one fabric order into my LNS. There's certainly going to need to be probably at least 2 more orders that are going in over time as that plan comes together. A few threads, but I laughed. You know me, I like a good spreadsheet of things. So again, one of the things that I worked on this week in the evening was I was working on a spreadsheet for something where I was getting the list of the colors pulled together, and it's a 2-tab worksheet because I have the fancy floss and I have the DMC equivalents, and I'm going to have to pull, I'm probably going to pull both sets and see what I like. So I'm working on that. You know, that's it. Yeah, it's going to take me from now till January 1st to come up with my 2023 plan and get it all kitted up. But I like doing that. That brings me joy. That brings me happiness in my stitching. So I'm enjoying doing that. Yeah, it detracts from some of my stitching time, but I don't care because it brings me joy. It's stitching related. It's getting me ready for my next set of projects. And I'm happy about that. So with that, those are all of the things I'm looking around. Yes, that's everything I've got to talk to you about this week. As always, thinking about the people of the Ukraine, very concerned about what's coming up this week. As again, the pictures coming out of the Ukraine are devastating. Anyway, I wish it had come to a swifter end. I'm worried about I'm worried about some of the things that Russia is saying about what their potential plans are coming up. So thinking about them, praying for them, hoping this comes to an end soon. Please let it be soon, because the destruction is terrible. As always, safety first, safety first, safety first. I hope that everybody's staying safe. I hope everybody's staying healthy. And I hope that you find some time to do some stitching this week, and that your stitching is bringing you some joy, contentment, peace, a distraction from what may be going on in your world. Everybody has challenges these days of a variety of reasons. So I hope you're taking some time to do something for yourself. I hope it's stitching, because that's what I do for me. And with that, as always, comments, questions, topics you'd like me to address, feel free to throw them down in the comments down below. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.